Hi, teachers and students. This is Unit 4, Week 4, Day 2 of the Middle School ENL Standalone curriculum. Continuing with the essential question, what do we need to succeed? And reading the text today, Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. So this is a literary text, and it is a poem, so students may have a little bit of trouble with this today, but we will go through together some scaffolds that might be appropriate, helpful for this lesson. So the lesson starts out with an opening do now routine. So the poem uses the word staircase as a metaphor for going through life. So here they have a picture of a staircase. So definitely try to extend that opening do now into a discussion, hopefully to get your students talking, to get them thinking about these sort of metaphors that they're going to be seeing in the text. After that, they will do a think, pair, share with a partner. This is, if you are in a virtual class, an easy way that you might be able to do this would be to do breakout rooms, or if you're using something like Google Meet where your breakout rooms are not supported, create a set of links ahead of time, pair off the students ahead of time, so that way you can send them off where they need to go. They know where they need to go to chat, and then you can call them back when the time for the activity is up. So here, they're looking at how words change meaning. So they can fill out the sentence, for me, life has been a, and there is 3 possibilities there: a bunch of roses, a glass of lemonade, or a bitter pill. So these can all have very different connotations. Students might have trouble with the bunch of roses because some people may interpret that as, well, roses have thorns, which is true. But this leaves it open to discussion. Whereas the glass of lemonade, mostly positive; bitter pill, mostly negative. So just something to keep in mind as you facilitate this discussion or pop into these partner discussions with your students. After that, into the text. So the text is linked right here, and there is a text helper. The text helper is also available on the next slide. The idea here is for students to really try to read the text in its original form first, and then if they're having a fair amount of trouble, the text helper is there for students to sort of unpack those metaphors that Hughes has put in there. And there are 2 discussion questions here that students can discuss with the class once they are finished reading. Also note, just like in the previous lessons, there are guiding questions at the bottom of the text, so students can go there once they have finished reading and before they start the discussion questions. After that, they will get into a questioning activity. So this text may spark a lot of questions. So the idea here is that they are drafting some questions for the narrator of the poem, the mother and the son, as well as the author. So what questions do they have for the mother? What questions might they have for the son? What questions might they have for the author? What questions might they have for a classmate? And then the idea here is that their classmates will respond. So this can be done in small groups or individually, and you can catch the questions that your students have made in some way, whether that be they're turning things in on a Google form, or whether you're asking them for what their questions were for each section, and then that way you guys can respond as a class. But the most important thing here is that students get the opportunity to ask and craft questions, as well as try their hand at responding. So how would Langston Hughes respond to these questions? Or how would the mother, how would the son respond to these questions? Lastly is the closing and connecting. The connect to the text is going to be the heavy hitter here, so the one that you definitely want to do. The check for understanding, write your thoughts, and extend the learning are activities that you can definitely add on if you see fit and if it works for your class. The connect to the text is asking students to complete this sentence. Although I have faced struggle, I have blank. So the narrator of the poem is open about struggles, so how might they complete this sentence? All right, so that is the rundown of today's lesson. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So this is week 4, day 2. Our essential questions: what do we need to succeed? The text is mother to son. And can someone read the lesson objectives out loud, please? Awesome. To explore how words or phrases are used in a text to shape the meaning or tone, and to use context clues, collaboration, and or resources to analyze words and phrases. So first things first, our opening do now. We have this picture over here, and we're going to write down what we see, what we think, and what we wonder. After that, we will discuss our answers with our class. So please go ahead, fill out those sentences for what you see, what you think, and what you wonder. Be ready to discuss with your class. Come back when you're done with that. Pause the video now. All right. Next up, we have a partner activity. So we have this sentence here. For me, life has been a blank. There's a few things we could insert in there: a bunch of roses, a glass of lemonade, a bitter pill. But we want to think about how each of these endings to this sentence might change the meaning. So once we do that, we're going to pair up with a partner to discuss the following questions. How would you complete the sentence above? And how might an older family member complete this sentence? So think about how maybe your father, your aunt, your grandmother, whoever takes care of you, how might they complete this sentence? And then finally, after you have your awesome partner discussion, you're going to share one response you heard from your partner and what you learned about your partner through that response. So we're going to do those 3 tasks. So think about how those endings might change the meaning, chat with our partners, answer those questions of how you might complete the sentence and how might an older family member complete that sentence, and then sharing one response that you heard from your partner during your chat and what you learned about your partner through that response. So please go ahead and pause the video now to complete those 3 tasks. All right, welcome back. Moving down to that orange box where it says set the purpose. Today we're going to read a short but famous poem in which the narrator describes her life. Let's read to identify the metaphor and the message of the poem. So now we have a couple of things we need to do. So we have the text right here, linked right here. First things first, we are going to read it. Next, we're going to respond to the guiding questions at the bottom of the text. And then we're going to prepare for discussion with these discussion questions. We're going to have that chat with our class. So those 3 steps. So we're going to read the text, respond to the guiding questions, and get ready for the discussion with these discussion questions. If you are finding that you have read through the poem and you're still not understanding everything, there is a text helper here, and I've linked it here in the next slide, where you can see the original line and what we might read it now, more modern, side by side. So in the place of, well, son, I'll tell you, well, son, I will tell you would be what we would write as the modern text. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Life has not been a crystal staircase. So if you're having trouble reading the original poem, I would encourage you to challenge yourself and try your best to read it and really get to the bottom of what Langston Hughes has written. But this resource is here for you if you feel like you really need it or if it's been given to you by your teacher. All right, coming back here. Read, guiding questions, discussion questions. Pause the video now. All right. So we just read Mother to Son, the poem by Langston Hughes. And now we are going to craft some questions. We're going to be drafting questions for the narrator of the poem, the mother. We're going to be drafting some questions for the son that she's speaking to. We're going to be drafting some questions for Langston Hughes, the author. And then you're going to work with a classmate to see what they think the response to those questions might be. You're also going to ask a question to your classmate right here. So you're going to draft a question to the mother, question to the son, and a question to Langston Hughes. You might be doing this as a class, or you might be doing this in a small group. Please double check with your teacher. But be ready to ask those questions and be ready to answer them as if you were Langston Hughes. All right, please pause the video now. All right, coming to the end of our lesson today. So your teacher may ask you to do a variety of these activities, but what we're really going to focus on today is the connect to the text right here in the gray box. The narrator of the poem that we read today is also open about her struggles. How might she complete this sentence? Although I have faced struggle, I have blank. So you're going to write this based on how you think she might complete this sentence. So how would she finish that sentence? Please bear in mind, while Langston Hughes wrote the poem, the narrator is a female narrator. The narrator is the mother. So the mother is narrating it regardless of the fact that Langston Hughes wrote it. So please bear in mind that those are two different things. The narrator, the speaker in the text, and the author, the person who wrote it. All right. So please go ahead and complete that activity. Fill out that sentence. Although I have faced struggle, I have blank, from the perspective of the narrator of mother to son. Once you're finished with that, you have completed your lesson, and we will see you for the next one. Great job.